Even when the Raiders aren't in action or preparing for an actual game, their names are still in the conversation across the National Football League. We'll tell you who, what, where, and why, plus more on Wednesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for October 22nd, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. The show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He does such great work. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And of course, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you at 707-654-4693. We'll hear from you as we close out the show as we normally do, coming up in segment number 3. Plenty of topics as well that we'll be talking about in segment number 3. Segment number 2, want to take you inside the Raiders locker room and let you hear from Jakobi Meyers. As the Raiders were at practice on Tuesday, they'll be again at practice today, and then they'll be off on Thursday and Friday and get ready for next week when they return to the facility to start to get ready for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But one more day of practice, one more opportunity to get inside the Raiders locker room. But we had a really good conversation. It was a handful of us got to catch up with wide receiver Jakobi Meyers and talk to him about a bunch of different subjects, including his name popping up in trade conversation. So really good stuff you want to hear. That's coming up in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day, and it really has to do with the roster as the Raiders made a couple moves there on Tuesday, and also more trade conversation. So we'll jump into that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets across the app. So first off top, the Raiders roster moves that they made on Tuesday have to do with the practice squad. They signed guard Layden Robinson and wide receiver DJ Turner to the practice squad. So you remember DJ Turner, big time when it came to special teams. We know the special teams unit had been struggling for the Raiders, and they started to make some moves to make that special teams unit better, but now they're continuing to filter in other guys into the practice squad and filter other guys off of the practice squad. So Layden Robinson, the guard, and DJ Turner in. They released guard McClendon Curtis and safety JT Woods. JT Woods had been with the team throughout the course of the summer. Training camp, preseason, he was there. He's actually a safety turned cornerback, and they added him to the practice squad when they had the roster cutdowns. They released him, and they also released McClendon Curtis, who they just signed, last week? Brought him back from a guy that was an undrafted free agent with the Raiders in 2023, a guy that the Seattle Seahawks actually plucked off the Raiders practice squad, put him on their active roster. They brought him back last week, and they released him this week. So those are the roster moves that were made as the Raiders continue to tinker with their practice squad, adding a guard and a wide receiver and releasing a guard and a safety. Now, let's get into the juicy stuff. And when I say the juicy stuff, that means trade conversations. Something that we talked about on Monday's show following the Raiders' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. I said the worst part about this is now the Raiders are going to go throughout the course of the week in their bye week, and there's a couple weeks before that November 4th trade deadline. You're going to hear a lot of conversations about guys that could be on the trade block. And I said teams will call about Max Crosby. I also said I don't think Max is going to be moved, but teams will call, and I don't blame them. So on Tuesday, it started with Adam Schefter, who was on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN, and he had this to say about the Dallas Cowboys.
I would say that the Dallas Cowboys are having conversations about moves that they can make before the trade deadline to try to improve that defense, just like Jerry Jones said that they could and would once they traded Micah Parsons. I'm not telling you that they'll be able to pull anything off, but I will not be surprised if we hear Dallas, at the very least, inquiring about the availability of various defensive players and ultimately trading for one before the Tuesday, November 4th trade deadline.
So he was letting it be known that Dallas was going to be and was trying to be very aggressive with the inquiries and the conversations that they were having when it came to adding defensive help for the team. He didn't mention the Raiders. He didn't mention any team by name that they were been talking to, wanted to reach out to, or any players specifically that he thought could be, targets for the Cowboys. But we know that they have a really good offense and their defense is terrible. So that was what happened early on Tuesday. Then just a little bit after that, Trey Wingo, who used to work with Adam Schefter on ESPN, now is part of the Straight Facts Homie podcast on YouTube, does a really good job. He put out this tweet. He said, Breaking, according to sources, the Dallas Cowboys have made inquiries with the Raiders about a potential trade for Max Crosby. And so some people hit me up when I said, Raider Nation, get ready for more of this leading up till November 4th. You're going to hear a bunch more of this until something, shakes out one way or the other. Not saying that the Raiders are going to move Max, because I don't believe that they want to, but these kind of reports are going to come out. And anybody can inquire about anything. The Raiders could call the Chiefs and say, hey, what is it going to take to get Patrick Mahomes? Obviously, they're not trading him, but that doesn't mean John Spytek can't pick up the phone and call. So some people thought that that was a joke, that Trey was just putting out a joke. Oh, why would they do that? They just traded Micah Parsons. Haha, that's dumb. He's an edge rusher. So is Max. But I kept trying to tell him, no, it's real. I expected this to happen. Didn't know if it was going to be Dallas, and I don't think they're going to be the only team. But to make sure that I got a little bit more clarity, and to make sure that I wasn't incorrectly speaking, I don't want to speak for anyone. I'd rather them speak for themselves. I have a really good relationship with Trey Wingo. So reached out to him, had him on my radio show on Tuesday, and asked him, hey, Trey, you put out the report. Can you explain what it means, the inquiries that the Cowboys have made with the silver and black? Here's what Trey Wingo had to say.
I'm not suggesting that there's a deal imminent. I'm not suggesting that this is something the Raiders are even seriously considering. But I do know that the Cowboys know that they completely boned themselves in the Micah Parsons situation. And so they are trying to find a way to assuage their fan base and also stop a defense which is DFL in the NFL, and that's dead bleeping last, 32 out of 32. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are Two-Face from the Batman movie. You know, the offense is the best offense in football, the defense is the worst defense in football. So they are trying to do something to address that situation, and all I know is that they have made initial inquiries about possibly trading for Max Crosby. Now, there's a lot of things that still have to be determined here. First and foremost, they might try somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I think the next 2 weeks will determine this greatly, because right now they are 3-3-1, right? Mm-hmm. So the next two games, they go before the trade deadline. If they go 5-3-1, I think the odds of them trying to make a deal for a player like Max go up exponentially. But if they lose their next two games, then I'm not sure they'll go down that road. But what's interesting about Max, if you look at the contract extension he signed in March of 2025, his average salary is about $32 million a year, right? Mm-hmm. That's exactly the number that the Cowboys had been discussing with Micah Parsons before the Myles Garrett deal blew that out of the water at $40 million. So it's a number that the Cowboys are very comfortable with at that position.
So again, he's not saying that there's a deal that was close, not saying that the Raiders wanted to move him, not saying any of that, except for the Cowboys, who have a really good offense and a terrible defense, are making inquiries. So I've reached out to the team and probably going to reach out to others. I would not be surprised to see them reach out to Cincinnati and see if Trey Hendrickson is available. He'll probably be cheaper than a Max Crosby would be. But also, when the Raiders are sitting there at 2-5, right, do you blame any team for reaching out and seeing if any player is available that they might make things them a little bit better and take them to the next level when they know the Raiders need plenty of talent on the roster? So not a surprise anywhere, but I just wanted to make sure that, Raider Nation was able to hear from the man himself who put out the report, just to letting him, I didn't want to put words in his mouth. I didn't want to be the one to speak for him, because people will say, oh, Q, you're just assuming. No. This is what Trey had to say himself. Then I thought the Raiders were really smart about this. I was out there at practice for the little period that we have, the little stretching period. It's about 10-minute window. We were able to see practice. Jakobi Meyers was there. Brock Bowers was there. No Max Crosby. And we know he got banged up on Sunday against Kansas City. So I was assuming, as I saw his car in the parking lot, that he's, was there at the facility and he was probably getting treatment. Well, did find out a little bit later. Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network put out this tweet. The Raiders met with star defensive end Max Crosby today to let him know they aren't shopping him and won't trade him. Sources tell me and Jane Slater. While other teams are interested, so confirming what Trey said, the Raiders aren't interested in moving their best player, and Crosby wants to stay in Las Vegas. Again, Tom Pelissero from NFL Network. But I pass all that along to say, don't flip out and freak out when you hear these reports. This will not be the last one. There will be another one, right? The 49ers reached out. This team reached out. Detroit reached out. I guess there'll be plenty of teams that are going to want to reach out and try to get Max Crosby's, services and get the Raiders to trade him to them. And I don't blame them. And, good business is you have to pick up the phone and at least listen. Doesn't mean that you have to actually make a move. So just wanted to make sure to pass that along. I thought it was really good to hear from Trey Wingo, and thought it was even better to hear and see the tweet from Tom Pelissero from NFL Network about the Raiders and the meeting that they had with Max Crosby. So I mentioned that the Raiders have practice again today, 10:30 a.m. That's when it'll be the practice will be open to pictures and videos, and we can tweet out. It's that stretching period I was talking about. Then the locker room will be open from noon to about 12:45. So wasn't able to get in there, but for a few minutes on yesterday, because it didn't open up till almost 1 o'clock, and my radio show starts at 2. So I had to get in there and get out. But we did have an opportunity to catch up with Jakobi Meyers while I was in there, and it was some really good stuff. Matter of fact, you'll hear that conversation coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of the great sponsors here on the show, and that is Gametime. The NFL season is back, and man, it's more than back. It's already 7 weeks in the book. Honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets could be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it becomes frustrating. That's why you got to use Gametime. That's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is actually the price that you're going to pay. The app has made it super simple. You can see the exact view from your seat before you buy. They have zone deals where you pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save big. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way you'll buy tickets. Right now, what you got to do, download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. I want to take you inside the Raiders locker room, and I really enjoy being able to have the opportunity to do this. As I've said many times, I just want to be a guy that is an extension of you, a guy that can help share any experience that I get and maybe make you a little bit closer to the situation and give you a bit more clarity. So you're not just reading reports from people who may be, in their mom's basement just writing up anything on the internet, but you're actually hearing from the players themselves. And so anytime I get an opportunity to catch up with players in the locker room, or we get a group of us that get to catch up with players in the locker room and I can bring it to the show, I like to do that. So on Tuesday, we caught up with Jakobi Meyers. And I'll say this before you hear this. If he's not a teammate that you want on your squad, I don't know what's wrong with you, right? I mean, this dude is the ultimate teammate, a guy who obviously wants a contract extension, a guy that got frustrated because the Raiders didn't give him a contract extension, but instead of pouting, instead of taking his ball and saying, I want to go home, or this, that, and the other, holding out, all this other stuff that we see players do when they don't get what they want, all he's done is support his guys. And of course, his name has popped up in trade conversations. One, because he asked for the trade. The Raiders didn't grant it. He said, okay, I'm going to go play. Obviously, he didn't play last week against Kansas City as he tried to, test it out right before game time and wasn't able to go. He was very upset by that and is really just trying to work to get back to Jacksonville. Everything else that is going to happen between now and then, including his name popping up in the trade conversations, out of his control, and he'll let you hear that. But Ryan McFadden from ESPN, Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Kevin Bollinger from Fox 5, Willie Ramirez from the AP, WGRamirez.com, and ESPN Las Vegas, and myself, we all had an opportunity to catch up with Jakobi Meyers in the Raiders locker room on Tuesday. Really good stuff from the wide receiver.
With the trade deadline coming up, you're going to be someone that's, your name's going to be circulating in the trade rumors for you. How do you personally handle that? And kind of like, what's your thought process as a player when?
Just try not to attach yourself to it, for real. Like, I got no control over that. If I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not. Wherever I'm at, I'm trying to get healthy and play good football. That's really all it is.
We know where you stood before the season. I mean, is that still your desire?
As far as wanting to be traded?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying, like, I'm a professional at the end of the day. Like, I'm just trying to play good football. So at the end of the day, if I'm here, like I said, I'll play good football. If I'm not here, I'll go out there and play what I'm supposed to do.
I know before the season you said you'd be able to block that out. You'd just be able to do your thing and play. Has it been difficult to do that?
Nah, I got my boys with me. We out here hooping, having fun. It ain't looking how we want it to, and that's the goal, is to fix it, right? But in the meantime, as long as I'm just here with them playing and enjoying the day.
How frustrating was that Sunday, just watching the offensive struggles, knowing that you wouldn't be able to go out there and kind of help out?
I mean, it was very tough. I think it's almost harder to not be there and watch it, you know what I mean? So like I said, I'm trying to get back to Jacksonville, make sure I'm as healthy as I possibly can be to help with this team in the best situation we can be.
Trey Tucker is on track to have his best season as a pro. Just what has stood out to you and how he's played this year?
A lot about Trey, man. So I've seen his whole career so far. It's just everything you see happen that he worked for it. You know what I mean? The way he catch the ball, the way he run his routes. Like Trey is deserving of even more than what he's getting now. So, I mean, it's just my job, honestly, to help him be the best player he is. And that's kind of just my goal for the year. Just help my guys, the younger guys, all my offensive teammates, defensive teammates, whoever it is, just help them be the best players they can be.
It seems like speed is like Trey's superpower out there, but outside of that, what else makes him such a talented wideout?
He understands the game. He understands where he's supposed to be. He know the playbook. He in shape. It's a laundry list of things. The speed is just what stand out, but he tough. He block. He run well with the ball. Like I mean, I could literally go through he a good football player at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So it's way more things on his positive than it is on his negative list.
I know you Brock been out, but like this offense is trying to trying to find some type of consistency. What do you think has been the biggest issues there?
And we just knew, you know, like it's a new offense, new guy at the head, new play caller, new head coach. Like it's a bunch of new things around here. So ultimately, I think anytime you invest in something, it probably won't go green right away. Like you're gonna take a little hit, and you just hope that it's a good product and then keep moving up in the long run. So I think that's where we are right now.
You hear that a lot in different sports when there's a new regime and a new system. But in reality, you're out here at training camp right in the middle of July and then go through preseason. How long does it take to actually say, okay, we finally caught up to speed?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a finite answer, right? It depends on the team. Like, everybody's different. Every team is different. Every organization is different. So I can't necessarily tell you how long it'll take us. I mean, I hope it'll be sooner than later, you know what I mean? But I really don't know. I know we hacking at it at the end of the day, and that's all we can do. So keep controlling what we control.
What's different from game one to where it's at? Because game one, it seemed like play calling was good. Gino was spreading the ball around. It just seemed like it fell off, like just mysteriously after looking good in the first week.
I don't know if it fell off or people just caught up at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like this is a tough league. Like it's a lot harder than I think people give it credit for. Like you got to come out here and really try to do the stuff that you do well. People catch on to you. You get film. They get tendency. So at the end of the day, it's a bunch of things. Like every game got a different situation. Sometimes we turn it over. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes the play didn't work. Sometimes it do. You know what I mean? So I can't. It's not one thing for me to put my finger on.
You mentioned you can't control, when your name pops up in trade talks. How does the locker room deal with that when your name and multiple names pop up?
Jokes. I mean, I think that's the best way too. Everybody a comedian around this thing. So, and I'm cool with it. Like I like hearing the jokes as long as guys willing to talk about it. If they got an issue, I'll be open with them. Like, how am I feeling? What am I saying out there? Which is nothing at the end of the day, but. Like, we cool, man. Everybody cool in here. We going through adversity together. We keep growing, loving each other, and we're going to be all right.
You feel like the locker room's still all together, though?
Absolutely. I haven't seen anybody fall off or somebody I can point the finger at and be like, he need to tighten up. Like, everybody still very much care about winning. We out here fighting. It's just a new regime. We trying, you know what I mean?
So when you say jokes, is it kind of like, hey, Jakobi, we'll see you tomorrow, and you're like, well, we'll see.
Pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, what time is your flight? You know what I mean? But nah, it's just all fun and games for real. So.
I know you made it clear to the team before the season what your desire was. Have you talked to them during the season or recently?
Nah, like that's too much for me. You know what I mean? I just want to be with my feet up. Like, they know how I feel. There's no reason for me to keep going back crying to them, can you get me out of here? Like, if you move me. But for the meantime, I got some real people that I care about next to me. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to make sure I'm being my best self for them.
When Gino was dealing with during the stretch of the season where he was like throwing multiple picks in multiple games, just like what are those conversations like? Because obviously he knows he can be better. You guys know he can be better. So what was those conversations like? As he's going through that. I mean,
there's no real conversations that need to be had. Like you said, he know he can be better. And then the thing is, it's not all his fault. Like we know we can be better. It's a bunch of things that go into one play. So I guess that's the answer. There's no real conversation. Like, just be better. And that's all we're trying to do is all just be better. Like, we want to win as much as everybody wanted to win. Like, we fight for sure.
I thought that was great stuff. And I can't tell you how many times he said, I still want to get traded, right? But I got these guys next to me that I got love for, and I'm going to be here to work and support for them. Like, you just don't hear that very often. I think, and I said this on my radio show on Tuesday, that he is the ultimate teammate. I think Aiden O'Connell has those same qualities, right? As many times as Aiden O'Connell has been overlooked, or another quarterback brought in, or he got picked behind Gardner Minshew, he's always supported those guys. Even right now while he's injured, I still see him at the facility holding it down with his teammates and really supporting them and having their back. So those two dudes in particular, and I got a lot of respect for Jakobi, got a lot of respect for Aiden, regardless of what anyone says. I know some people believe differently, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. Those two dudes, man, if being those kind of teammates isn't a value to a team, I don't know what is. And if it isn't, it should be. That's for sure. What does that mean moving forward, Jakobi? I don't know. Right? He very well, as I mentioned on Monday's show, he very well could be in the last few days with the Raiders. I hope not, but you never know. You never know what direction they plan on going. We know Tyler Lockett. I mentioned it on Tuesday's show. Tyler Lockett was released from the Tennessee Titans. He's out there and available. So I know that Pete Carroll's got that familiarity with him. So if he decide and they make the move, hey, we're going to trade Jakobi somewhere and get, I don't know, a third, fourth, fifth round pick in return for him, whatever. Oh, yeah, maybe we'll bring this guy in and he could fill that void. Again, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying it's a possibility, and you'll probably hear those kind of rumors, more of those leading up to that November 4th trade deadline. But definitely want you to hear from Jakobi Meyers in the Raiders locker room. I thought that was some really good stuff. Coming up in segment number 3, we'll hear from you. Your calls and texts will close out the show, 707-654-4693. That's coming up in segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs. With features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance, you can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So, let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
I got to tell you about FanDuel, title sponsor of the show. With the NFL season here, FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets you can use across the app. Man, there's so many different ways that you can use FanDuel. You could build parlays. You could try player props. Even you can follow the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So you could be a casual fan or love diving into the stats. FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Get up off your shoulders, man. Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to hear from you. Your calls and texts. Draft that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. Let's start off with Raider Z. He's calling to ask about the team after all the positives that we had talked about early on. What has gone on? Here's Raider Z.
Hi, my name's Raider Z. Q. I love the show. Been listening for a long time. I just got to know, bro. What's going on with this team? We heard all this good news coming out of training camp before the season started. After the draft, everything was looking good. What went wrong? Where did this team go wrong? I just want to get your thoughts and opinions or any insight. I know a lot of reporters are reporting that we were looking good. Team was looking good. Offense was supposed to be explosive. Defense was supposed to be solid. And season started, and we haven't seen any of that. You can just help me out. Raider Z, out.
Raider Z, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And the funny thing is, man, my thought was the offense was going to be the strength of the team, right? We had that conversation here. The defense was going to have to play catch-up. And Chip Kelly as OC, Ashton Genty running the ball, strong quarterback from Geno Smith, who they, traded for, right? They were going to, man, that was going to be the strength. And as you heard Jakobi talk about in segment number 2, new scheme, new staff, right? The teams catch up to what they're doing, right? It's a lot. But as you heard him say, they're working, they're trying to win. They want to win just as bad as everyone else wants them to win. I thought that was refreshing to hear what he had to say in that locker room about even just winning and some of the players in the locker room, even Geno Smith, what he had to say about him. One of the things that I just don't know if is a problem or if it's an issue or not is, are Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, are they on the same page with offensive philosophies? Do they share the same ideologies when it comes to what they're doing offensively? That's my big question, and that's the question. I don't have the answer to it. I don't. So I don't know. We'll see sooner rather than later. But, I do remember when Pete Carroll talked about Geno Smith and him getting comfortable. When I asked him the question, he said, now, he ain't calling the plays. So that, to me, was a direct shot at Chip Kelly, even though he said, hey, if you look at what we're doing, we have a pretty balanced attack. And that's something that Pete Carroll talks about all the time. Balance, balance, balance. So we'll see. We'll see what they do coming out of the bye. Obviously, they practice today, and then they'll have some time off before they start to prepare for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Up next, got a text from Jamal in Camden, New Jersey. What's good, Q? Jamal from Camden. I have a quick question and a quick statement. I'll start with the question. Whatever happened with Greedy Vance? Do we still have him? My statement is we have to trade Max to get draft capital for our rebuild. Holding on to Max and wasting his time here doesn't make any sense. We won't be competitive for another 2 to 3 seasons. I say get 2 to 3 first-round picks from Max and start the rebuild. We have no other good players to trade. Thanks for everything that you and Ari do. Raider Nation for life. That's Jamal in Camden. I'll address the question first. What about Greedy Vance? Yeah, he's on the practice squad. He hasn't had an opportunity yet, but that doesn't mean that he won't have an opportunity soon, right? As we talked about evaluation season, sooner rather than later, you're going to see more and more of the young guys get some burn, especially as a couple more games go by, the trade deadline goes by, and you start to see that, okay, this team is clearly way out of it. They got a lot of building to do. They're going to start to get some of the younger players in the mix. As far as trading Max, I mean, in theory, I understand where you're coming from. Remember, the Raiders have done that, right? They went out and traded Khalil Mack, and they got plenty of draft capital in return. And what do they have to show for it now? Nothing. All the draft capital that they got in return for Khalil Mack was Josh Jacobs, right? Josh Jacobs was the one hit that they got out of that, the one real true hit that they got out of that, and he's not even with the team anymore, right? So, yeah, I mean, in theory, if you're going to start that rebuild that you mentioned and just commit to the rebuild, you could say, okay, that's what you're going to do. That's the move that you're going to make. And, Max at some point might say, hey, man, I want to have a chance to win. I'm getting older, and this is not going anywhere. It's going to be 2 to 3 years, like you mentioned, before they're good. He could request a trade at some time, and I think that the Raiders respect that and move him. But if you get that draft capital, you know what you have to do? You have to hit on the picks. It's just that simple. You have to hit on the picks. And as we know, there's no guarantee in that. So I understand what you're saying in theory. I don't think the Raiders are ready to do that as of right now. But just because of, the report that Tom Pelissero put out that we talked about in segment number 1, where he said the Raiders aren't willing to trade him, does not mean the calls aren't going to stop coming and doesn't mean the rumors aren't going to stop rolling. So, of course, there'll be more of that, especially leading all the way up till November 4th. Thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Mike from Santa Clarita. He's calling to talk about the season, what he feels like it's going to be, and has some questions about the offense in particular. Here's Mike from Santa Clarita.
Hey, Q. Mike from Santa Clarita. Man, this is going to be a tough year. One hell of a tough year. I will say that, Jesus, if you were going to waste the first-round pick, I agree with you. Feed Ashton Gentry the dang ball. You're going to pick him number 6 overall, use him. The fact that he had 1 carry in the first quarter and his second carry didn't come to the second quarter is absolutely insane. It's like, what is Chip Kelly doing? Why is Chip Kelly $6 million a year when our offense looked as terrible as we were keeping the offensive coordinator who they hired? What? My God. I don't know, Q. Some of the things you look at, it's just like, why am I even looking at football games on Sunday? Well, why am I even watching the Raiders on Sunday? Just gonna make my brain hurt. I mean, I do agree with one thing. We shouldn't fire Pete Carroll. I think is fire Chief, and there's no consistency there. Different philosophies, different ideas, different personnels, and now we're seeing the consequences for paying for that, I don't know. Hopefully they can Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll can kind of get on the same page, realign each other, and man, I don't know. Hopefully, better results. I mean, I know our team sucks, so the only thing I want to look for is just like show me you're getting better every week. Don't show me that you're getting worse. It's crazy. You're watching a Raider game and it's like it went from good to bad in like 0 to 60 seconds, and I just want to see steps moving towards the right direction. I think right now I don't care how many wins they get, just show me steps towards the right direction. Give me some hope. Well, stay positive. No, that's hard. Don't turn on each other. Remember, there's only one nation. That's Raider Nation. And man, hopefully my boys get to see a winning team like I grew up seeing before they started losing every damn season. Take care, Q.
Big Mike, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, the big concern that I have when it comes to the offense and getting Ashton Jeanty, and I had no problem with them getting Ashton Jeanty. He's a big-time playmaker, and I think that the Raiders should be in the business of collecting big-time playmakers, right? Having skilled players. Obviously, you've got to have the trenches solidified as well, but you need to have some skilled players. Jeanty is one of them. I just don't want him to end up being Saquon Barkley with the Giants, where you see flashes, you see some really good play. Oh, man, that guy's dynamic, but they don't do any winning, right? I mean, even Josh Jacobs when he led the league in rushing, right? I mean, what did the Raiders really win? Right? I mean, it was like a really good season from Josh. I was happy to see him lead the league in rushing. Thought that was cool, especially after, the Raiders had declined his fifth-year option. That's great to see him go out there and put it on the line like that. But how many games did the Raiders really win? What did they really get out of that? And out of his whole career with the Raiders, that was like the one season that stood out the most. So I'm hoping that that's not what Ashton Jeanty becomes. I'm hoping that he becomes a key cog contributor. Him, Brock Bowers, right? Max Crosby, those three right there, those should be the three untouchables on the team. Those are the three blue chip players that they have right now, right? If JPJ, rounds into form, if they start to, get with the play that they want out of him, whatever that is, because clearly it's not where they want it to be right now. I think he could be a blue chip player, one of the best guys on the offensive line. I think Colton Miller has a chance to be that as well. He's never been a Pro Bowler, but I still think he has a really good chance of being, one of their blue chip players. But as far as that category, they don't have a lot of them. They don't. So I just want to see, that offense get clicking, get on the same page, and Ashton Jeanty not end up being Marshawn Lynch in Buffalo. Right? I don't want to see him move to another team and then him be Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. You know what I mean? Where he was really successful there, just like Saquon. Fantastic in Philly, not that great in New York. Or Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers, not that great there, fantastic in San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I don't want from Ashton Jeanty. But thanks so much, Mike, for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Text from EMC Raider says, hey, Q, EMC Raider here. I just want to text in on the news about the Cowboys reaching out to the Raiders for a possible trade with Crosby. I want to point out that after the news broke this morning, Crosby then took to his social media, posted a video announcing a meet and greet in Vegas for Raider Nation and fans. I think that is a subliminal message to the fan base, letting them know he's not going anywhere because of the timing of that video. After the news broke, it's very intriguing to me. I feel that was his way of saying to us, I'm staying put, Raider Nation. Now, I could be wrong. I could be overthinking it. But again, the timing of it is just way too coincidental. Thanks for everything that you do. You know that we all appreciate it. You're one of the best content providers out there. Actually, the top provider, in my opinion. These YouTubers and podcasters only wish they could be in your shoes. Have a good one, brother. Raiders. That's EMC Raider. And thanks so much for the compliments. I appreciate that. And honestly, the show is not the show without you. And I'm just, a dude that's living the dream, trying to do the best I can each and every day. And I think a lot of people have some really good channels and some really good podcasts and some really good avenues, and they're doing some great work out there. And I definitely support anyone who's putting in the work and really doing it the honest way, the correct way, and not just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks because they know Raider Nation is a passionate fan base. But as far as the message that Max sent on social media, I'm sure that you're 100% correct. That was no coincidence. You heard about the meeting that the Raiders had with Max, so clearly he either called the meeting or they called the meeting with him just to get out in front of it. You know how that goes, though, right? I mean, things could always look one way and then it could be another. So you just kind of pay attention to that November 4th date. Wait till that trade deadline pass and make sure that 98 is still on the squad. I believe he will be, but until it's November 5th and Max is still on the squad, there's always, a slight possibility. But I think you're spot on when you talk about the coincidence or the not really a coincidence when you put out that video. Thanks so much for that. I do appreciate you. That's going to do it for today's show. Again, the Raiders will have practice this morning. We'll be over there checking out the practice and also getting into the Raiders locker room, hoping to catch up with Landon Roberts and a couple others. Matter of fact, E-Rob is supposed to be a guest on my show sometime this week, so really want to kind of confirm that as well. And who knows, if we get some more good sound from the Raiders locker room, I'll bring it on tomorrow's show as well. So always love the feedback. Raider Nation, 707-654-4693. We'll be back with calls and texts, more news and notes, and plenty more coming up on tomorrow's show. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.